Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into the profoundly grounded, totally real-world philosophy of the ancient Greek thinker Aristotle. We're going to unpack exactly how a guy who lived over 2,000 years ago managed to create a system of thought that still perfectly describes our modern, everyday pursuit of a meaningful life.
We're kicking things off with this beautifully poetic quote from his book, Nicomachean Ethics, which is actually a text he dedicated to his son, Nicomachus. It sounds like a really simple observation of nature, right? One cloud does not make a winter, one flower does not make a summer. But as you'll see, beneath this very basic observation of the seasons lies a massive, profound statement about the human condition.
So you might be wondering, what does this quote actually have to do with true happiness? Well, let's dive into this and see how this single idea challenges pretty much everything modern society tells us about living a good life. We live in a world that's totally obsessed with quick fixes and instant gratification, but Aristotle? He is asking us to zoom out and look at the much bigger picture.
Part 1. Searching for Truth on Earth.
To really grasp Aristotle's worldview, we have to talk about his great intellectual rebellion against his famous teacher, Plato. You see, geniuses don't just appear out of thin air. They're links in a chain. For Aristotle, that chain went from Socrates to Plato and then to him. But he definitely wasn't just going to parrot his teacher's ideas. In Raphael's famous Renaissance painting, The School of Athens, you see Plato pointing way up to the sky, looking for truth in some abstract world of perfect, invisible forms. But Aristotle? He's pointing straight down to the dirt. He argued that truth isn't hiding up in the heavens. It's discovered right here, through the physical reality we experience with our own two eyes.
Basically, he believed you don't learn anything by just sitting in an armchair thinking about general categories. Like, if you want to understand what a cat is, you don't close your eyes and ponder the abstract form of a cat. No way. You go outside, you find actual living cats, and you observe them. Aristotle was absolutely fascinated by the tangible details of everything around him. He even founded his own school, the Lyceum, where he literally sent researchers out into the field to gather hard facts on everything from politics to biology.
Part 2. True happiness, or eudaimonia. This highly observant, earthly approach led him to ask a pretty heavy human question, which is, how should we live our lives? His answer involves a truly fascinating concept called eudaimonia. Now, people often translate this as just happiness, but that's actually kind of misleading. He argued that a good life isn't about the fleeting, momentary joy of eating a bowl of mango-flavored ice cream or the thrill of watching your favorite sports team win. That's just a temporary sugar rush. Eudaimonia is about objective, long-term human flourishing. It's about reaching your ultimate potential over the course of your entire existence.
Think of it like a giant puzzle, or like the figure in this sunflower illustration here. True flourishing is an organic process of applying our unique human power of reason over an entire lifetime. Because, remember our opening quote? One flower does not make a summer. And get this, Aristotle actually believed that things completely outside of your control, like shear luck or even what happens to your kids after you pass away, can impact your overall eudaimonia. It's not just a mood, it is a holistic, lifelong measure of success, the whole shebang.
Part 3. The doctrine of the golden mean.
So, the absolutely crucial question here is, how do we actually construct this flourishing life on a regular, day-to-day basis? Well, Aristotle tells us we have to develop the right character, and this builds right into his famous golden mean doctrine. He teaches us that every virtue is basically a sweet spot between two extremes. On one end, you have deficiency. Picture a cowardly soldier who completely freezes up in battle. On the other end, you have excess, a reckless soldier who foolishly throws his life away for no reason. Right in the middle, that's the golden mean, courage. The courageous person still feels the fear, for sure, but they use their reason to overcome it and act appropriately.
It's a deeply practical, hands-on framework. It's all about practicing good habits, finding balance, and actively striving to be a better person, rather than just, a more entertained one. Cultivating the golden mean means you're training yourself. Actually, scratch that. It's not just about what you do. It's about training yourself to feel the right emotions at exactly the right time and letting reason, rather than impulse, guide your actions.
Part 4. A political animal, humanity.
Now, Aristotle recognized a really important limitation here. We cannot achieve this perfect balance if we're totally isolated from the rest of the world. You can't just go sit on a mountain by yourself as a hermit and expect to reach eudaimonia.
He famously argued that humans are inherently political animals. We fundamentally rely on a well-ordered state, a justice system to keep our darker instincts in check, and the company of others to truly flourish. We literally need a community to practice our virtues on, and the structure of society to help us thrive together.
Part 5. The Illusion of Authority and His Legacy.
Aristotle's genius was so comprehensive and his research was so incredibly vast that it eventually cast a pretty ironic shadow over the history of science and philosophy after he died. For centuries during the Middle Ages, scholars straight up stopped investigating the world and just accepted his words as unquestioned dogma. Take this famous example. Aristotle claimed that heavy metal objects fall faster than lighter wooden ones. Instead of testing it out, medieval scholars just believed it because, well, Aristotle said so. This wasn't famously debunked until centuries later when Galileo did his drop test at the Leaning Tower of Pisa, proving that both objects actually fall at the exact same speed.
The ultimate tragedy here is that elevating his writings to this absolute, unquestionable authority completely violated Aristotle's own philosophy. Think about it. His entire method was based on critical inquiry, on observation, and being open to debate. Believing something just because an authority says it's true halts the very scientific progress he dedicated his life to championing. Philosophy only grows through arguments and keeping your eyes open to the facts.
As we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with a provocative thought. Take a hard look at your own daily actions. Are you just living for the weekend, chasing that next mango ice cream moment of instant gratification? Or are you doing the hard, lifelong work of cultivating virtue and reason to achieve true eudaimonia? The choice, as Aristotle would say, is entirely in your hands. Thanks for joining us.